The jury says Tim McVeigh did it. He is found guilty on all counts in the Oklahoma City bombing murders, a verdict the people of Oklahoma City were waiting and hoping for. McVeigh could now get the death penalty.
This is the CBS Evening News, with Dan Rather reporting tonight from Denver.
Good evening. Timothy McVeigh, the name will forever live in infamy. It will forever be linked with the murderous act of terror on U.S. soil that included the deaths of 19 children. After 4 days of deliberations, a federal court jury here in Denver today convicted Timothy McVeigh of bombing the federal building in Oklahoma City. Convicted him on all counts. Conspiracy to use a weapon of mass destruction, guilty. Use of a weapon of mass destruction, guilty. Destruction by explosive, guilty. Murder of 8 federal agents, guilty. The same jury that convicted McVeigh will now decide his punishment. He could get the death penalty. CBS News correspondent Scott Pelley was in the courtroom when the verdict was read. Scott?
Dan, the courtroom was filled with families and victims of the bomb. They did not know what the verdict would be, and they were very worried. One man who lost his wife in the attack said of the jurors, "I hope God can open their hearts and their minds."
Justice is served.
Outside the courthouse, 2 years of pain lifted in an instant.
We got him. We got him.
Lead prosecutor Joseph Hartzler rolled into the sound of triumph. He asked for quiet just to get a word in.
On behalf of the entire prosecution team and all the federal agencies that supported this prosecution, we thank the victims for their patience and dignity throughout this long ordeal. We're obviously very pleased with the results. We've always had confidence in our evidence. Now everyone else will have confidence in the evidence in the verdict.
But only minutes earlier, there had been desperate tension in the courtroom. Victims and family members packed the benches, red-eyed and shaking. One woman dropped to her knees in prayer. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Some grabbed the backs of the benches in front of them and braced themselves. Tim McVeigh leaned forward on the defense table and folded his hands at his chin. Jurors filled the jury box, and the verdict was handed to Judge Richard Mach. The judge read each count. Guilty, guilty, guilty. He repeated 11 times. McVeigh did not move. His eyes did not leave the judge. There was no way to tell whether he could hear the muffled cries of 60 people a few feet away. When the jury left the room, prosecutors stood and embraced. Vicki Behena from Oklahoma City burst into tears. Outside